mutations, green men coming out of Marvel Comics, the Andromeda strain, outbreak. The ramifications of mutations are sinister, they're terrible, and mutations and mutants will take over our planets. Mutations and COVID-19. What does it really mean? Is it all that? Stay tuned. We're coming back and we're going to talk about it. Alright, so mutations and COVID-19. The reason I'm doing this program is I called one of my patients who had COVID-19 and I asked him, well, you know, now you don't have to be as worried about it. You've already had the illness. You've come through it. You're doing fine. He didn't really have any problems with it. And so he said, oh, no, doctor. I heard that this virus is mutating and I am just keeping myself at home just like I always did. Listen, whether you had COVID-19 or not, you know the story. Hand sanitation, masks, 6-foot distancing. As the state of Florida opens up where I'm at, we'll see some of those things becoming more liberalized. But I got news for you. Don't leave those things and those habits if you had COVID-19. But the truth is that this whole mutation thing that I'm hearing from patients and I'm reading online, it's probably overdone. So let's see what the science says about it. First of all, COVID-19 is what we call an RNA virus. These viruses are mutating as part of their normal life cycle. Why do they mutate? Well, they count on certain enzymes to copy and recopy their DNA in cells of different hosts, whether they're humans or something else. And this polymerase, that is the chemical, the enzyme that is used to make these copies of the virus, is not perfect. So little mistakes happen in the genetic code. And these things are probably happening all the time. Every time a mistake is being made, the virus is probably not getting stronger, but probably getting weaker, probably getting less survivable. And we have other RNA viruses that give us an example of what mutations may or may not do in terms of affecting vaccine efficacy, for example. So we're going to look at that. The mutations are here. And in bioRxiv, which is an online repository for scientific articles, there is an article that is written by Korber about the different strains of COVID-19 that are actually out there. And he cites, and this is from early on, this is from February, he cites 14 different strains. One of them is the prevalent strain that is probably affecting us, but all the other 14 strains are somewhat similar. I wish I could give you a citation for the journal in which it's found, the date in which it's found, and so on, but it has not been published yet. Which, by the way, is one of my criticisms for a lot of the commentaries that are being made out of these repository articles. Many of them have not gone through peer review, and in fact, one of them last week had to be retracted. And it also changed the way that the World Health Organization sees a particular issue, and it was an article about hydroxychloroquine, one that was very important because the World Health Organization made recommendations based on this repository article that was withdrawn once it was looked at and published in the peer review literature. So again, we have to be careful about these things. How important are mutations? Well, probably not very important. Here are some examples. The measles, mumps, rubella vaccine. Again, these are also RNA viruses. The vaccine that we're using is from 2006, and measles, mumps, rubella as a virus has gone through many iterations of mutations because this is what RNA viruses do. They have mild and small mutations. But our vaccine against MMR is still very useful 14 years after it was developed for that particular strain. Now, the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine has been around for a lot more than 14 years. But every so often you have to tweak the vaccine. The last time it was tweaked was in 2006. Ben Newman, who is the head of the biology department at Texas A&M University, is quoted in the online journal Healthline saying that these mutations are probably not going to be very significant and that they're probably going to be for COVID-19 much as they have been for the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine. Mark Chase at the Institute of Molecular Virology at the University of Minnesota basically he has the same take. And it's that these mutations probably are making our viruses weaker. Now, the H1N1 outbreak, this was also an RNA virus. And the vaccine we're using for that has been around since 2002. And we know that H1N1 has mutated multiple times, but the vaccine is still effective. Why? Because these are small mutations that really have not been affecting the mechanism by which the vaccine is efficacious. So even if we have a COVID-19 vaccine that is good for 2 or 3 years, and then the virus mutates and changes so much that we have to come up with a good vaccine. Well, guess what's happened by year 2 or 3? A lot of herd immunity has been developed. Hopefully, that's our expectation. And this herd immunity is both developed by the natural illness and by the administration of a vaccine. So again, hopefully we won't be seeing this as an ongoing severe public health problem 10 years from now. And if it turns out to be something like the flu vaccine that has to be modified every year, and even so, the vaccine is not perfect for flu, as many of us know. It's very good, but it's not perfect. Well, then we're going to hope that we can develop and that we have the mechanisms in place to get the vaccine in sufficient quantities to at least vaccinate the people who really are at high risk. And remember from my previous video and my previous videos before that one, that the high-risk groups include people with lung disease, emphysema, COPD, severe asthma, not just any asthma, but severe asthma, and there's a way of defining what severe asthma is. People who are on dialysis, who have significant heart disease, those who are over the age of 65, who are immunocompromised, who have cancer, who have HIV. There are other groups. That's just a 20,000-foot view of the people at risk. We know for sure that we have to protect these people. Remember, in the state of Florida, the vast majority of the people who have had severe problems from the COVID-19 infection are those over 65. And the vast majority of that group over 65 is comprised of people over 90 years of age. Now, you do hear of that terrible situation where there was a young father or a young person who passed away from COVID. It happens. I know of those cases personally. But these are very, very small number of people. The people we need to be really, really cautious about and on the lookout for are those who have these particular risk factors. And let me remind you that fortunately, in the state of Florida, this is not true in other places, but in the state of Florida, we have had zero mortality in people under the age of 18, at least until the time of this video, which is in June 2020. Let's hope that those numbers continue to decline. Okay, that's all I want to tell you about mutations. I wish there were a whole lot more to say, but this is one of those cases where keep it simple, stupid really does work. And if there's any change, if there's any new news about this, you're going to be the first to know about it. Again, if you've had COVID-19, don't decide that you're just willy-nilly going to do everything. Keep the same precautions, but in terms of your preoccupations, I think we need to tone them down. That's all we have for today. Remember, folks, if you like the program, a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I no longer send these programs out to my friends and relatives and family members, so the only way to get them really is to sign up. We have a lot of people who already receive these programs, so hopefully they're being well received and they're useful for you. All right, until next time, that's all we have for today. Thanks for listening to me, Dr. Oscar Hernandez, board certified internist and pediatrician.